You were so much more attractive when you actually had a job, James. She just blurted it out between bites of toast, not even looking up from her phone, just scrolling with her thumb while her other hand held her coffee. I kind of laughed, trying to play it off like she was kidding. Wow. Starting the day with a compliment, huh? Rachel didn't even crack a smile. She set her mug down, gave me this sideways look, and shrugged. I'm just saying, you used to be ambitious. Now you're here every morning in your sweats, talking about maybe updating your resume. I stared at her for a second, still hoping she'd say she didn't mean it, but she just kept scrolling. Her nails tapped the counter, impatient with my silence. That's not exactly fair, Rach. I got laid off, not I started, but she cut me off. And what? You're just floating. People can smell desperation, she said, standing up and grabbing her bag off the hook. I have to go in early. Big meeting. I watched her thumb fly across her phone, texting as she turned toward the door. You could at least pretend you care a little, I said, trying to keep my voice light, but it shook anyway. Rachel snorted. I've got enough to stress about at work without dealing with your midlife crisis. You want sympathy? Join a support group. I caught a glimpse of her phone screen as she walked past. A message preview popped up from Dan S., followed by a string of laughing emojis. She suppressed a smile and typed something back, quick and secretive. Her heels clicked out the door. I just sat there, holding my coffee, feeling it go cold. The kitchen felt too big and too quiet all of a sudden. I heard the front door slam, then silence. A minute later, her laughter drifted back from the driveway, muffled through the window. I glanced outside. She was pacing by her car, phone pressed to her ear, laughing about Friday's plans to whoever was on the other end. The laugh was sharper than anything she said. Not for me, not lately. Just for someone out there, someone who made her excited. I just sat there, sick to my stomach and not sure if I should be angry or scared or just numb. All I could do was stare as her car reversed down the driveway, her voice echoing into the distance, cutting right through whatever dignity I had left. The coffee tasted bitter. I dumped it in the sink, the noise way too loud in the empty house. That was the first hit, like someone suddenly flipping a switch and making me realize just how far things had slid. I wanted to ask her who she was seeing Friday, but the word stuck. I didn't want to hear the answer. The day just ground on after that, but everything felt different. Her words kept replaying. That one look she gave me, like she was already halfway out the door and I was an inconvenience. I spent most of the afternoon half-heartedly clicking through job listings, pretending to be busy whenever her footsteps sounded upstairs after work. That night, after she got back, Rachel barely looked at me. I tried to start a conversation about dinner and she just waved me off, mumbling something about needing to be up early. Her phone chimed and she smiled down at the screen, lip biting, eyes lighting up. I wanted to ask, almost did, but she just rolled her eyes when I hovered. You're acting like a puppy who lost his toy, she said, brushing past me toward the bedroom. Grow up, James. Seriously. I heard her phone ping again, and then a muffled giggle. I stood in the hallway, stuck between embarrassment and disbelief, feeling like I was being erased in slow motion. The worst part wasn't even the words. It was how easy they came to her, like she'd practiced. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling while she lay on her side, texting under the covers, screen lighting up her face. Eventually, she got up and closed the door to the bathroom, still talking in a low voice. I caught fragments. Yeah, Friday, can't wait, he won't care, and then the sound of running water to drown out whatever came next. And me? I just stared at the ceiling, every second making it harder to pretend I didn't hear exactly what was happening. It was supposed to be a simple housewarming. One of Rachel's coworkers, Julia, just bought a condo. Rachel insisted I go, said it'd be good for me to get out. I tried to look decent, button up, jeans, forced a smile. Rachel barely glanced at me as she ran eyeliner in the hallway mirror. At the condo, the first thing I noticed was how everyone clustered in their little work huddles. Rachel was instantly at home, diving into a circle by the kitchen island, wine in one hand, phone in the other. I got a distracted wave. James, you remember Julia and everyone from sales, right? Then she was right back in gossip about some nightmare client. I tried to settle into the crowd, nodding along. A guy from finance, Rick, gave me this sympathetic grin. Hey, James, still enjoying the time off? I tried to laugh, keep it light. Yeah, just working on the world's greatest resume. He chuckled, then spotted someone else and peeled away. Rachel, meanwhile, barely looked up when I came by. She was holding court with her work friends, telling a story about last quarter's numbers. Her eyes met mine, then flicked to her phone. Everyone, this is James. My husband? He's between jobs right now, taking a little sabbatical. There was a pause, and someone mumbled a polite, nice to meet you. The word sabbatical hung in the air, and her friend Jenna's eyes darted away. I felt my face flush, but forced to smile, like it was some kind of joke we were both in on. I drifted to the drinks table, poured myself a soda. Two guys from logistics shot me the kind of look you reserve for someone's little brother tagging along. I tried to start a conversation, so, how do you know Julia? One offered a stiff answer, then excused himself to go help with the playlist. All around, I caught snippets, office banter, vacation plans, talk of new projects. My name landed in a couple sentences, always with that soft edge of pity. Rachel's laughter floated above the room. She leaned in close to some guy in a too-tight blazer, hand on his arm, screen held between them. I watched her show him something on her phone. They both burst out laughing. She caught me watching and rolled her eyes, then nudged the guy and whispered something that made him smirk. Julia came over, glass in hand, and smiled apologetically. James, glad you made it. Rachel says you're taking some time. That's so brave these days. You're lucky to have her. I started to answer, but Rachel called from across the room, Babe, could you grab me another drink? Oh, and the Uber app, you should order yourself one for later, okay? A couple heads turned. Someone actually snorted. The guy in the blazer patted Rachel's back and said, loud enough for me to hear, we'll take care of her, don't worry. Rachel brushed past me on her way to the bathroom, barely making eye contact. I'm heading out with the team. Just don't wait up, okay? Her tone was casual, but her words came out cold. She didn't even take her coat. One of the guys tossed it over her shoulders. People pretended not to look, but the air felt heavy. Jenna came over, voice low. She's been really stressed at work. I nodded, tried to seem fine. Yeah, we all have our moments, right? She squeezed my arm, but her smile slipped when she saw Rachel linking arms with that guy and heading for the door. The last thing I saw as she left was Rachel laughing, turning back just long enough to mouth, "Don't forget to lock up." The rest of the room went awkwardly silent for a second, then filled the void with more wine and fake chuckles. I stood there, invisible, useless, surrounded by strangers who knew my own wife better than I did. I left alone, walked half a block before realizing I didn't even know where I was headed. I just wandered for a while, trying to keep the heat in my face from turning into something bigger. My phone buzzed, a notification from our joint account. Rachel's card had just been used at some bar downtown I'd never even heard of. Her location flagged on the receipt. No text, no heads up. Just the cold, automated message and that echo of her laughter in my ears. My thumb hovered over her contact, but I shoved my phone in my pocket instead, stomach twisting as reality set in. Whatever she was doing tonight, it definitely didn't involve me. After that night, I figured maybe I could lean on some of the people who used to be there for us. I shot a couple texts in our group chat, just the usual. Anyone up for watching the game this weekend or lunch on Friday? The blue check marks popped up. Then nothing. Hours went by and finally Matt, who used to be my go-to for everything, shot back a half-hearted busy man. Sorry. That was it. Nate never even read the message. I wasn't one to beg, so I left it alone. But after a couple days, the silence felt heavy. I hoped maybe it was just bad timing. So when I spotted Steph and Brian through the cafe window on Main, I decided to pop in. They were both laughing, huddled over cappuccinos, and for a second I felt that little jolt of hope. Maybe things weren't as bad as they seemed. I pushed the door open. They both saw me right away. Steph's smile flickered. Brian fiddled with his phone, suddenly absorbed in his empty coffee cup. "Hey! Fancy running into you guys," I said, sliding into the empty chair at their table. They shared a quick glance and Steph nodded. "Oh, hey James. How's it going?" She dragged out the word like she didn't really want the answer. "Not bad. Just trying to keep busy, I said, keeping it upbeat. "Have you heard from Rachel? She's been pretty slammed at work, I guess." Brian cleared his throat and checked his watch. "Yeah, she mentioned something about a big project, I think. Sorry, I didn't sleep last night, man." He stood up a little too quickly, almost knocking his chair back. "Actually, I should get going," he mumbled. Steph stood too, clutching her purse. "Sorry, James. We're running late. We'll text you, okay?" She gave my arm a quick squeeze, and then they both made a beeline for the door. I watched them go, pretending not to notice how relieved they looked as soon as they were outside. When I glanced around, the barista, who used to know our orders by heart, looked away before I could wave. The whole place felt suddenly smaller, like I'd wandered in somewhere I didn't belong. I left my coffee half finished and headed out into the drizzle. On the walk home, I kept telling myself it wasn't about me, that people just got busy, but the whole thing left a pit in my stomach. I scrolled through my phone, half hoping for a new message. Nothing. By the time I got home, the house was weirdly silent. No TV, no Rachel on her Bluetooth pacing the hallway. The smell of her perfume was sharp, out of place. I noticed the coat rack was empty except for my own jacket, and when I stepped into the living room, there it was, her suitcase zipped and ready by the front door, her gym bag perched on top. On the kitchen table, she'd left a folded piece of paper. The handwriting was neat, like she'd taken her time. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," it said. No signature, no explanation, just that. I opened the hall closet. Half the hangers were gone. Her jewelry tray in the bathroom was empty. The drawers in our bedroom cleared out. My phone buzzed again, but it wasn't her. It was an email about a bill, something mundane and useless. The house felt hollow, like the echo of someone slamming a door in slow motion. She'd left without even telling me. I just stood there, the note in my hand, wondering how it got so cold, so fast. And I knew then that whatever I thought support looked like, it was gone. Friends, routines, marriage, one after another, all slipping out from under me. I put the note down, feeling the sting in my eyes, and let the silence settle. The only thing left was to figure out what I was supposed to do next. A week after Rachel left, I made myself go to this networking mixer at a fancy hotel downtown. My suit was a little tighter than I remembered, but it was all I had left that made me feel even remotely like my old self. The lobby buzzed with people in smart jackets, every handshake just a little too firm, everyone's grin just a little too wide. First guy I recognized was Matt from the old team. His smile shrunk as soon as he realized it was me. "Hey, James, didn't know you'd be here." His eyes flicked somewhere past my shoulder, like he was already planning his exit. "Yeah, figured I'd try to catch up, see where everyone landed after the, layoffs." I held out my hand. He shook it, but his grip was limp, and he was already glancing down at his phone. "Man, things are nuts these days," he said. "But listen, I just saw my guy from DevOps. I better say hi before he disappears again. You know how it is." He was gone before I could answer. I wandered table to table, trying to join conversations, but everyone seemed to break off into tight little groups right as I got there. My name tag felt heavy. A couple old colleagues from project management nodded politely when I waved, but drifted off as soon as I started to ask about any open positions. A woman at the bar, red hair. I knew her from last year's budget meetings. Oh, hey, you're Rachel's husband, right? The way she said it, past tense, like the story was already over, hit harder than I wanted to admit. I managed to smile. Yeah, I guess that's me. Well, X small world, huh? She looked a little uncomfortable, grabbing her purse. Sorry to hear that. Anyway, good luck out there. I'm sure you'll bounce back. She was gone before I could even ask who she was working for these days. I drifted past a group of guys from my old company, standing in a half circle near the hors d'oeuvres. They were talking low and fast, wine glasses clinking. As I passed, I heard one of them, pretty sure it was Tom, say, "Honestly, I heard he hasn't worked in months. Nobody's going to take a chance on that." Someone else muttered, "Isn't that Rachel's ex?" The one with the meltdown. The laughter was quiet, but it stung. The second they noticed me, the whole circle went silent. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but the conversation turned to the Seahawks and project launches and whatever did involve me. I stood there for a second, pretending to be interested in the cheese plate. Everyone kept a polite distance. Even the event organizer, who I'd worked with on 3 different launches, offered a lukewarm handshake and then slid off to greet someone else. I stuck around for another half hour, hoping the night would turn around. Instead, it just got quieter around me. The only thing louder than the music was the sound of people not looking in my direction. I checked my phone out of desperation, but there were no new messages. I decided I'd had enough. As I was slipping my coat on near the exit, I heard a voice behind me. "You always did hate these things, huh?" I turned and saw Michael, my old boss, the one person in the room who wasn't walking away. I tried to laugh. Can't say I missed the small talk. Michael's mouth twitched into a half smile. "You look like you need something stronger than sparkling cider. How about we get coffee tomorrow? I think you need a win." He clapped me on the shoulder, his tone the same as when he used to bail me out of impossible deadlines. This time, though, it actually felt like a handhold instead of a shove. For the first time in weeks, I nodded and didn't feel pathetic about it. Yeah, I could really use that. The relief in my voice surprised me. Michael grinned and said, "Good. Don't flake on me. I'll text the details. Things are about to get interesting for you, trust me." I watched him head back into the crowd, cutting through the noise like he owned the place. Leaving the event, the sting of being irrelevant was still sharp, but for the first time, it felt like maybe not everyone had written me off just yet. The next morning, Michael texted me an address and a time. I barely slept and nerves humming. When I showed up, it was his old-school coffee shop, hardwood booths, indie music, everything sunlit and quiet, nothing like where all the tech people hang out now. Michael was already there, typing one-handed on his laptop, mug in front of him. He looked up, gave me that sideways grin. "Didn't think you'd chicken out," he said, waving to the seat across. "Not my style," I said, sliding in. I tried to sound upbeat, but my confidence was running on fumes. Michael raised an eyebrow. "You look like hell, but you showed up. That's most of it." I gave a half smile. Well, I was told there'd be coffee, and possibly a rescue mission. He snorted. "If you want a rescue, join the Coast Guard. I've got something better." He closed the laptop, leaned in. "I'm building a new team. Startup, but not in the 3 kids with laptops way. We're going big. I want you on board, James." I blinked. "You want me?" I'm pretty sure I'm the last person anyone would want running anything right now. Michael sat back, leveling his gaze. "That's exactly why. Everyone here is obsessed with image. I need someone who's been knocked around and knows how to get back up. You ran half the projects behind the scenes when I was at Rain City. I never forgot that." I sat up straighter, the old instinct kicking in. What kind of startup? He grinned. Let's call it a disruptor. Some new tech, some buyouts, some shakeups. We're not building. We're acquiring. And a few of the companies on my radar? You already know the teams, the culture, the weak spots. I tried to hide my disbelief. And you just want me to walk in and help run things? He shrugged. I need someone who knows how to stitch people together after a mess. Someone with a backbone, but not an ego. You made mistakes. Good. I swallowed, thinking about the last few months, about Rachel, about everyone who'd ghosted me. You're not worried about my reputation? It sounded pathetic the second I said it. Michael shook his head. Nobody remembers failures. They remember comebacks. Let them whisper. We'll make them talk louder for the right reasons. The barista dropped off a fresh pot of coffee. I poured a cup, hands trembling a little. So what's the catch? He looked me dead in the eye. You have to stop acting like you're already dead in the water. You show up, you fight, you put your name on the blueprint. You in? It wasn't dramatic, but for the first time in a long time, I felt control sliding back into my hands. I nodded. Yeah, I'm in. I'm tired of watching the world spin without me. Michael grinned, slapped a folder onto the table. Good, because we're moving fast. I want you in on strategy and integration, not just grunt work. And James, don't be surprised if some of these unusual mergers look familiar. The Seattle tech scene's smaller than you think. I raised an eyebrow, smirking. You planning to buy up my entire past? Michael just sipped his coffee, eyes twinkling. Let's just say some ghosts deserve to see you thriving on the other side of the table. It landed somewhere between a threat and a promise. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. We spent the next hour sketching out ideas on napkins, both of us talking over each other, energy crackling. When I left, the pit in my stomach was gone, replaced by something sharp, focused, and almost hungry. As I walked back to my car, I caught myself grinning. The anticipation was back. The world might have moved on, but I wasn't sitting out the next round. The next few weeks were a blur of coffee-fueled nights and conference calls. Michael's crew was small, just 5 of us at first, all tucked in this borrowed office, folding chairs and pizza boxes everywhere. Ashley was the new HR manager. She had sharp eyes, a deadpan sense of humor, and the kind of calm that made people listen. She was the first one to ask if I wanted to grab dinner after a long session. No pity in her voice, just genuine curiosity. One night, we were spread out across the war room. Whiteboard covered in company names, arrows, messy notes. Michael stood by the window, phone glued to his ear. I was piecing through spreadsheets, trying not to overthink. Ashley plopped down next to me, slid a can of LaCroix across the table. You look like you haven't slept since the Clinton administration, she said. I cracked a smile. You're off by 2 presidencies, but yeah. I forgot how much work went into the fun early days. Ashley nudged my elbow, voice low. You're not still letting her, Rachel, live rent-free in your head, right? Because, for what it's worth, everyone here knows what you've pulled yourself through. I paused, surprised she'd even mention her by name. It's not so much about her anymore. I just want to build something that makes all the humiliation worth it. I want to look forward, you know? Ashley nodded, fiddling with her pen. That's the right energy. Too many guys in this industry just get bitter. But you, honestly, I think you're about to have the last laugh. A couple of these targets? Michael called out from the other end. Ashley, come help me convince these clowns in New York that we aren't a bunch of kids playing with angel money. She grinned, rolling her eyes, and leaned in closer. Seriously, I trust you with this. And I'll clue you in when I hear which companies are sniffing around for a buyout. Ashley headed off, and I went back to the board. As I glanced over the list, one company name in bold caught my eye: Pinebrook Solutions. My breath paused. I stared for a second, double-checking. Pinebrook was where Rachel landed after leaving me. She'd posted about it all over LinkedIn, some big level up move in sales. I felt my hands tighten around the marker. Michael finished his call, came over and followed my gaze. That one stick out? I cleared my throat, kept it casual. Yeah, that's a familiar name. He looked at me, not missing a beat. That bother you? Because if it does, you should tell me before I get the lawyers on the line. Ashley returned, carrying a stack of printouts. If we can get Pinebrook to the table, we'll have leverage over 3 supply chains. And she shot me a quick look. Their sales team has a reputation for turnover. It'd be an easy culture win. I shrugged, masking the tangle of nerves and adrenaline. No problem on my end. Might even be poetic. Michael's mouth twitched. That's what I want to hear. We don't do nostalgia here, just business. Ready to make some ghosts sweat? Ashley gave me a little half smile, as if she knew exactly what was running through my mind. I think you're due for a bit of karma, James. Let's see what a little power feels like. I nodded, focus sharpening, the old fire coming back stronger. Whatever came next, I wanted to see it through. And as the team dove into strategy, the name Pinebrook stayed circled in red, daring me to take the next step. Finalizing the Pinebrook acquisition wasn't glamorous. It was 3 weeks of tense calls and hush-hush meetings in Michael's office. Door always closed, blinds always drawn. Michael was all business, his suit jacket draped over a chair, tie loose. Ashley had a legal pad in her lap, and the whiteboard was crowded with numbers and HR checklists. That Thursday, Michael clicked his pen, looking around at our tight crew. "This is it," he said, pushing the stack of papers toward me. "Sign here, here, and here. Quietly. We're not rattling anyone's cage until everything's inked." I nodded, hands steady. Ashley double-checked the agreements, her eyes scanning every detail. "No leaks," she said. "Pinebrook staff can't know until the transition is official. We need this clean." I scrolled my name on the dotted line, not letting my pulse show, and slid the folder to Michael. He pressed his thumb to the table, satisfied. "You are, as of now, CEO of Pinebrook Holdings, effective when the staff get the memo next week." Ashley set her legal pad down, lips tight but smiling. "Congrats, boss." I tried to play it cool, but my heart was hammering. "Thanks. Let's make sure this doesn't blow up in our faces." She handed over a slim folder. "New employee roster. You'll need to review for the all hands next week." I flipped it open, cold control settling over me as I scanned the list. There it was, Rachel Bennett, sales coordinator, floor 3. Just a name on paper, but my thumb paused over it a second longer than I meant. Ashley watched, saying nothing, but her look was steady, supportive. Michael's phone buzzed. He picked up, voice brusque. "Yes, legal's cleared it. No, the staff stays put unless we say otherwise. The announcement will be internal first. Yeah, James will handle it." He hung up, turning to me. "This is your show now. The crew's in the dark until you walk in that first morning. You want a clean slate or poetic justice, that's on you." I breathed out, tension mixing with something way colder. "I'll handle it. Nobody gets special treatment, including Rachel." Ashley stood, coming around the table, her tone gentle but firm. "You sure you're ready for that? I mean, seeing her, dealing with the people who said you'd never get back up?" I nodded, but my voice was even. "I don't need revenge. I need to do this right. But I won't lie, it'll feel good." She offered a quiet, approving smile. Just remember, you're the adult in the room. Let the facts speak for themselves. Michael shrugged, gathering the last of the paperwork. First order of business? Staff meeting, Tuesday at 9. Whole sales team will be there, including her. I closed the folder with Rachel's name still burning in my mind. Set it up. I'll be ready. Ashley squeezed my shoulder on the way out, lingering just long enough to say, if you need backup, I'll be there. Nobody's alone on this team. I sat for another minute, gripping the roster, thinking about how small the world really was. The next week wasn't going to be easy, but I'd never felt more focused. By the time I left Michael's office, the memo was already drafted. Pinebrook staff were being summoned to a Meet the New CEO event at headquarters. Every step forward was steady, controlled, and every heartbeat counted down the hours to when I'd walk in, not as the guy left behind, but as the man running the show. The Monday before the big reveal, Michael suggested I walk the Pinebrook office incognito, get a sense of the ground before stepping in as the new CEO. I wore a plain button-down, no name badge, just a visitor sticker. Ashley came along, blending easily, clipboard in hand, like she was doing a routine HR survey. The Pinebrook break room was buzzing. A group from the sales team talked loud over coffee, but Rachel was in the middle, spinning her chair, heels propped up, laughing at something on her phone. Across from her was a guy I recognized from LinkedIn, a married account manager, ring still on his finger. She leaned in, voice dropping just enough that Ashley and I could easily make out what she was saying. Honestly, Eric, if you're unhappy at home, you need to just own it, Rachel said, playing with her hair. Life's too short to stay with someone who doesn't spark you anymore. I mean, look at me. I always land on my feet. Some people just aren't built to keep up. She grinned, and Eric chuckled, glancing around nervously. Ashley shot me a look, raising one eyebrow. I gave a tight nod, jaw clenching. We watched as Rachel scrolled her phone, then swung around to the rest of her team. You know what my ex used to say? Rachel announced, loud enough for the room to hear. He thought loyalty mattered more than ambition. Poor guy actually believes people stick around forever. Cute, right? Half the room laughed. The rest just went quiet. Rachel soaked up the attention, smirking like she was untouchable. A woman from HR brushed past me, whispering to Ashley, "You guys here for the transition meeting? We've got a few concerns about, well, you'll see." Ashley nodded, then turned to me once the woman was gone. Ready to see her in action for real? Come on, let's duck into this meeting. We slipped into a sales huddle. Rachel was at the front this time, running through numbers, but her style was all flash, big jokes at the expense of anyone underperforming, lots of digs about people needing to grow a backbone. She peppered in stories about idiot exes stuck in dead-end jobs. Another guy flinched when she called him out for a missed target. When the meeting broke, Ashley motioned for me to follow her into a side office. She closed the door, voice barely above a whisper. You see what I see? I kept my tone level. She hasn't changed a bit. If anything, she thinks she's immune to consequences. Ashley nodded. I've had 3 separate complaints land on my desk this month, all about Rachel. Harassment, playing favorites, making people uncomfortable. The only reason she hasn't been written up? She's gotten results, and no one had the guts to push it higher. I looked at her, feeling both vindicated and sick. So she's on thin ice already. Ashley flipped open her folder, showing me a stack of anonymous HR forms. If she even breathes wrong this quarter, we've got cause. You want to use this or let her hang herself at the announcement? I took a steadying breath, watching the sales team through the glass, Rachel at the center like she owned the place. Let's do it by the book. But be ready. She's going to cause a scene. Ashley's voice softened, but her eyes were hard. We've got your back, James. And after today, Pinebrook won't protect her anymore. I nodded, feeling the tension coil in my chest. Good. Let the work speak for itself. She's not bulletproof. We stepped out as the office buzzed with rumors. Everyone waiting for the mysterious new CEO. Nobody suspecting the fallout headed their way. Rachel walked by, still laughing, still untouchable. But this time, Ashley and I stood together, knowing exactly how close she was to her own undoing. Tuesday morning, the Pinebrook senior staff filtered into the big boardroom, the glass walls shining, the city skyline in the background. The mood was jittery, everyone clutching coffee, trading guesses about the mystery CEO they were about to meet. Rachel swept in at the center of her group, loud, animated, barely glancing at the nervous faces around her. She found a seat near the middle and leaned over to Eric, her favorite sidekick from sales. "I hope this new guy's not another fossil," she snickered, too loud to be subtle. "Maybe I should offer to show him around. My stupid ex would lose his mind if he saw me running this place." They both laughed. Someone else at the table just looked away. Ashley stood by the door, clipboard in hand, scanning the room. Michael lingered near the back, arms crossed, stone-faced. I waited outside until the clock hit 9 sharp. Then Ashley opened the door with a nod. The conversations died instantly when I stepped in. Every eye locked on me. Rachel's joke froze on her lips. She stared for a beat, her mouth open. For a second, it was dead silent, except for her pen clattering to the table. I walked straight to the head seat. "Good morning. I'm James Bennett. As of today, I'm your new CEO." Rachel's face went white, blotchy. She tried to recover, smirking. "Is this a joke? Is someone filming this?" I kept my voice steady. "No joke. Let's get started. Before anything else, I need to address several code of conduct violations that came to my attention last week, some directly related to this team's leadership style." The room rustled, everyone glancing at Rachel. She scoffed, crossing her arms. "You're really going to come in here and act like you know this company? Like you have some right to judge me?" I met her eyes. "Actually, I do. I've reviewed, signed, and substantiated HR complaints regarding workplace harassment, inappropriate relationships, and retaliation." "Ashley, would you brief the room?" Ashley stepped to the front. "We have multiple formal complaints, 3 from within sales, 1 from operations, all linked to patterns of intimidation, public humiliation, and abuse of authority. These have been corroborated by witness statements and performance reviews." Rachel looked around wildly. "Oh, so now everyone's out to get me? This is pathetic. You're all cowards." She started to stand. Michael cut in, voice hard. "Sit down, Rachel. You'll want to hear the rest." She stayed standing, voice rising. "You're just bitter. You never could handle a woman who actually had ambition. That's why you're so obsessed with tearing me down." Her voice cracked, and several department heads shifted away, uncomfortable. I kept my hands flat on the table. "This isn't personal. Your conduct is indefensible. You've jeopardized your own team and our company's reputation." She spun toward the others. "Are you really going to let him do this? After everything I've done here?" Nobody answered. The room was dead silent, every face hardening as the reality set in. Ashley finished, voice calm but pointed. "Per company policy, these violations are grounds for immediate review by the board. The evidence is clear. You will have an opportunity to respond in writing, but you are suspended effective immediately." Rachel's composure finally cracked. "This is a setup. I should have known you'd all turn on me. I built this team." She swept her arm across the table, scattering papers everywhere. Her voice was shaking now, words spilling fast. "You think you're better than me? He's nothing. He's nobody. This company will fall apart without me." People actually flinched. Eric flung back his chair and hurried for the door. The rest of the team sat frozen, some in shock, others with lips pressed tight as Rachel dissolved in front of them. Ashley signaled to building security, who stepped in quietly. "You need to leave now, Rachel." Rachel turned, wild-eyed, then stormed out, her heels echoing down the corridor. No one followed. The entire leadership team, her audience for years, watched as her reputation and career collapsed in a scene they'd never forget. For a long moment, nobody spoke. I stood, facing the team that had just seen every mask drop. We moved forward, together. No more secrets, no more intimidation. You all deserve better. And starting today, that's what you'll get. I caught Ashley's steady gaze. Michael gave me a small nod. And outside, Rachel's shouting faded, her power and bluster gone for good. The board convened that afternoon, a half circle of executives, faces drawn, documents spread out between them. Rachel sat at the far end, arms crossed, staring daggers at Ashley and me. Her lawyer, some junior associate in a wrinkled suit, whispered frantically while Rachel ignored him, jaw tight. Michael called it to order. "We're here to address code of conduct violations against Rachel Bennett." His voice was even, but the tension in the room was thick. This is not a negotiation. The evidence speaks for itself. Rachel slammed her palm on the table. "This is a vendetta. You're all cowards, hiding behind paperwork." Ashley slid a binder across the table, pages marked and highlighted. "You can review every complaint. This isn't personal. This is policy. The board has the right to dismiss you, effective immediately." Rachel snatched the binder, flipping through, voice sharp and rising. "These are lies. You're all just jealous because I actually get results. You think you can just erase me?" One board member, a gray-haired woman known for her patience, looked her dead in the eye. "Rachel, we've had enough. You belittled your team, abused your position, and made this office toxic. You're done here." Rachel's face twisted, disbelief giving way to panic. "You can't do this. You need me. This place will tank without me." Michael didn't flinch. "You're dismissed, Rachel. Security is waiting in the hall. You don't work here anymore." Rachel's chair screeched as she stood. She turned to me, voice trembling, desperate. "James, tell them this is crazy. You wouldn't let this happen." I met her gaze, nothing left between us. "You did this to yourself, Rachel." She stared around the boardroom, looking for an ally, anyone. Nobody met her eyes. Her lawyer finally stood, mumbling, "We'll be in touch," but Rachel shook him off, storming out with security trailing behind. The door swung shut. The board sat in silence, the weight of it all settling. Ashley broke it first, voice soft but final. "Let's move on." Back in my new office, I sat behind the desk, sunlight cutting across the floor. Michael poked his head in. "You good?" I nodded. "Better than I've been in a long time." He smirked. "Seattle's going to be talking about this for months." Ashley passed by, pausing in the doorway. "She's gone. And nobody's sorry." I leaned back, feeling the relief hit me, slow and solid. Everything Rachel used to hold over me was gone. And when the elevator doors opened in the lobby, Rachel stepped out, only to have a junior associate from HR mutter, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Guess ambition isn't enough if nobody can stand you." Rachel looked back, stunned, but nobody followed her out.